Hey, welcome back. So the last couple months I've been doing a lot of 3D printing projects, and my workflow goes something like this. So I sit at my desk and figure out what I'm going to print, either by modeling it or downloading it or whatever it takes. And then I load it up in the slicer, I slice it, and I hit send to printer, and the printer's not on. And the printer is in a different room than my desk is. So then I get up out of the chair, I walk to the other room, turn the printer on, wait for it to be ready to print, then walk back to the desk, hit send to printer. Now this isn't like a huge problem in the grand scheme of things, but it is kind of annoying. And so we have technology, we can solve even small problems. So what I want to do is be able to start the printer from my desk without having to get up. And the first thing I need in order to do that is this is the Sonoff Wi-Fi smart plug with power monitoring. And this uses one of those generic, cloud service thingies, whatever, to connect to it. I don't like that. But supposedly this model, the S31, I can flash this with ESPHome and use it with the Home Assistant. So I'm going to see if I can make that work. Okay, I think first I have to get this gray piece off of here. Now these things slide off, and there's some screws. Probably here we need to connect. All right, yeah, we got our VCC, our transmit and receive, and our ground, and then we need to hook up one of these, like a USB to serial situation, somehow there. Okay, so here's my super janky connection for this to flash the new firmware to it. Careful not to breathe too hard on that, might fall apart. And someone has already figured out exactly which ESPHome code to use for this. So I just went to devices.esphome.io, copy and paste this code from there, and I'll use that to flash my device. I'll put links to all this. So flash it, just got to hold the button while I start it up, plug the power in at the USB, and then it'll pop up in my programmer, flash it. It's good, and it pops up in Home Assistant. And it works. So in that last clip, you see that I can turn that smart plug on and off with my phone through Home Assistant, but I don't want to have to open an app or navigate to the Home Assistant web page in order to turn this printer on or off. I want to be able to have a physical button on the desk that I can just push the button and a little display to show the status of the printer. So on the breadboard here, I have an ESP8266 with a little display connected to it. And that off there is the status of that smart plug. On this over here, if I turn the smart plug on through Home Assistant, you see on there. If I turn it back off, it goes back to off. And I also have connected this, this is a mechanical keyboard switch. So if I hit that, turns it back on, hit it again, turn it back off. So I've got my switch and my little display. And there's one more feature I want for this. I want to also put on the little display here the status of the printer. So if it's idle, if it's printing, how much time is left. I'm pretty sure there is a Creality integration. My printer is a Creality K1 Max. I'm pretty sure there's a Creality integration for Home Assistant. I'm not sure if it's going to show me that information, but let's check that out. Now, the Creality integration is not included in the set of approved integrations that you get through the standard built-in Home Assistant interface. So in order to get it, I'm going to need to install the Home Assistant Community Store, which is an integration that allows access to a separate repository of custom integrations. I'm going to spend the next 3 minutes going through the somewhat convoluted process of installing that and getting the Creality integration. So if you're not interested in that particular part, you can skip to this time right here and get on to seeing the finished product. The first step is to install the Get Hacks app. We just go through the regular app installation, but we have to install a custom repository. In order to access this, we paste in the repository, the URL of the GitHub repository for hacks. And then we see we have now a new repository that we can install apps out of. We go back to the app section, scroll down, there's a new section in here now called Home Assistant Community Store. We can get the hacks, we can install the Get Hacks app. And what that basically does is, so we install it and run it, that basically downloads the integration that we can then install. And I don't know if I actually hit stop or if it did it on its own, but In any case, we can go to the logs and we can see that the installation is complete. And it says, remember to restart Home Assistant. So now I'm going to restart Home Assistant and come back when that's done. Now that we have Home Assistant restarted, I can go to Devices and Services and add a new integration. And I search for hacks. So I'm going to install the hacks integration. I have to check all these boxes saying I understand what's going on here. And then I have to copy this code and I have to authorize hacks on my GitHub account. I have to log into GitHub and authorize this app because it's where we're going to get the actual integrations we download through here. Don't judge all my browser tabs. And so you authorize hacks to use my GitHub account and then just finish the installation here. And then in the sidebar on the left, we now have a new entry, it says hacks, H-A-C-S. And in there we have now the Home Assistant community store. So I'm going to search for the Creality integration. There it is, the Creality WebSocket integration. So we're going to download that. And then go back to Devices and Services. Oh, I have to restart Home Assistant again. So now we have Home Assistant restarted. Go back to Devices and Services, add integration again. And now we should have that Creality WebSocket integration here. Right there, we're going to add our printer. We need the IP address of the printer, and I'll change the name to my Creality K1 Max and submit. Put that in the room it's in the back room. And now we have right here all of the points that we get from the printer. The printer's on, so we're reading these actual data points off, and the two that I want right here are the time remaining here and the printer status. And so now I can move on to the next step. Okay, I've updated this now that we have the Creality integration on Home Assistant. We can pull information from the printer. So this is showing 3D printers off, and that's the smart plug showing off. If I push the button, printer turned on. Now it shows that the printer is starting, and then after a minute it'll go to idle. And now if I start a job on the printer, okay, the printer started and it switches to self-test. That means the printer is going through its little calibration that it does, and the unknown down there is where the name of the thing that's being printed will show up as soon as it starts printing. And you can see here that the printer is moving, it's doing its thing there. Okay, now that it's actually gotten into the printing, it's finished its little self-test. We can see there's a timer showing how much time is left, and then that bottom line shows the object that's being printed. I'd like it to be the file that's being printed, but that's not available from the interface. Instead, we get the object being printed, so that'll change. If I had multiple objects in the same file, it would change what's shown there depending on which object the printer's currently printing. That might end up being better, we'll see. And then when this finishes, we'll sort of fast forward this. All right, so when it finishes, it says done there where the timer was. It still keeps scrolling the name of the last object that was printed. And unfortunately, it doesn't ever go back to idle. It just stays done with that scrolling name down there. I don't know if I care about that or if I'd rather see if there's a way I can, after a certain amount of time, reset it back to idle. But in any case, it's working. It's doing kind of what I want it to do. I can start it with the button. I can see the status of the print job. Now, one more thing to do is I need to pack all this up into some kind of little enclosure that I can set on my desk. So that's next. Okay, so we got the case bottom, board, just a little perf board, soldered and wire wrapped. Have a little spacer to fill some vertical space, has a little ledge to support the edge of the screen. I had to modify the screen board a little bit to allow for the screws. We have a top. So that's it. This was a project that was more, I guess, fun than anything else. But more importantly, it was informative, educational, in the sense that I've had an idea to make a modular control panel with physical buttons and little screens like that, but I haven't been exactly sure how to approach it. And doing a project like this gives me like a little toe into that pool to sort of think about how that might work. Now that I have a slight reference, I'll do another couple projects and then eventually I'll have that idea. In any case, thanks for watching and see you next time.